The West Virginia Mountaineers lose a heartbreaker to the Syracuse Orangemen 31-27, but after the game came the shocking announcement that Coach Don Nehlen will retire at season's end.
I just thought it was time. You know, it's hard to coach any place 21 years. And I just felt that it was time for me to go down the pike. And, you know, Sundays are early until late, and I want to check around and see if there's something else to do. I don't even know how to keep score in a bowling game, for goodness sakes. I don't know how to do anything.
After 21 years, 8 top 25 seasons, and a generational rebuild, the patriarch of West Virginia football stepped down. In his place, the Mountaineers called up a rising star and a homegrown coaching talent. Rich Rodriguez guided Glenville State to unparalleled success in the 1990s, and as an offensive coordinator, built up offenses at Tulane and Clemson. As the new man in Morgantown, he now saw himself taking the reins of a program looking to continue raising the bar. Welcome to the first episode of Rich Rodriguez Season by Season. Over the course of the summer, we're going to look back on the first stint of Rich Rodriguez's time in Morgantown, and we're going to start with his first season, 2001. It wasn't a season to remember in terms of wins, but there was plenty of highlights to be had as the foundation was being laid for years to come. The cupboard was not totally bare for Rich Rod. The Mountaineers returned starting quarterback Brad Lewis, leading rusher Avon Coburn, and leading receiver Antonio Brown. Defensively, 9 starters were back, including reigning Big East Rookie of the Year Grant Wiley. But questionable depth on the offensive line was a definite concern throughout fall camp. That's part of the reason why WVU was picked to finish 6th in a top-heavy Big East. Perennial 1990s powers Miami and Virginia Tech stood on the top of the conference mountain. The old gold and blue stood in a bit of a logjam with Temple and Rutgers at the bottom and justified the media's pick in Week 1 at Boston College. WVU struggled to stop the BC rushing attack after injuries to Wiley and safety Sean Hackett. Wide receivers Antonio Brown and Sean Swindle also were hobbled, and Avon Coburn could only do so much against the Eagles in a 34-10 opening week loss. Hey look, it was only one game. Many fans weren't throwing in the towel yet. They were saying just that. It's only one game. We'll see what happens this season. And much like we'll see in 2025, the second game of Rich Rod's first season in Morgantown was against a scrappy Ohio bunch, a great opportunity for WVU to test its mettle. Anticipation was high for the Mountaineer fans to get their first look at Rich Rod's famous spread offense. It was an ugly start. Offensive drives repeatedly stalled in the red zone, and the Mountaineers went into the locker room with only a 3-0 lead. The defense carried the load in the second half. Tied 3-3, the Bobcats appeared to break a play wide open. Lance Frazier jimmied the ball away, and Angel Estrada was all over it. On the ensuing drive, Brad Lewis found Seth Abraham, who dove for a 26-yard gain and a critical third down conversion. That set up an Avon Coburn TD to open up the fourth and put WVU ahead for good. After taking a 13-3 lead, the Bobcats fumbled the ensuing kickoff, and Quincy Wilson was all over it. Then Avon Coburn made light of a short field, and the 20-3 final gave Rich Rod his first win as WVU head coach and renewed enthusiasm in Morgantown. That enthusiasm took a back seat 3 days later. The tragedy of 9/11 put many things on the back burner, and rightfully so, and college football was no exception. West Virginia's game against Maryland was pushed back 2 weeks, so West Virginia had a 14-day layoff before taking on Kent State. Chris Clark had that story for WBOY.
After 2 subpar performances against Boston College in Ohio, today Rich Rodriguez's offense gave us a little taste of its capabilities.
For the past 2 weeks previous, we weren't playing up to the tempo and up to the way that the coaches felt that we should be able to play.
The way our offense played in the second half, that's my main focus throughout the year, is just, play like we did there.
Brad stepped it up today, and he played great, running the ball, throwing. I mean, he stepped up today, and I mean, hopefully all the doubters will go away now, and we can just play.
It's tough to doubt Avon's 181 yards rushing and Brad Lewis 286 yards passing, along with scores by Brad, Avon, Phil Braxton, and Antonio Brown. But Coach still wants to see improvement.
I'm not real happy with the way we played. Obviously, if you saw my mannerisms in the game, just a lot of mistakes. It almost felt like and looked like we were playing a first ball game.
Not running the right route, holding, or not making the right check or things like that. So there's a lot of little things that can make the offense look bad.
Our execution on some plays in the first half, it seemed like we had some guys wide open and some things that were there, and we just didn't connect.
Early on, connecting was not a problem for the defense. In the first half, WVU swarmed freshman quarterback Josh Cribbs and held the Kent State offense to just 37 total yards.
I really wanted to get back and bring something back with me, and I tried to bring that spark, you know what I mean, a whole lot of excitement.
We're like 110th in rushing defense and everything, and we just wanted to go out there and just smack people in the mouth and just get some respect.
Coach just told us before we even went out there, he said, I want to see you guys fly around, have fun, get up, show some emotions, and that's what the guys wanted to do today.
I tried to put the quarterback out a couple times, you know what I mean, I told him to.
Late in the third, the defense was caught looking, and Cribbs took full advantage, scampering 84 yards for a score.
Me and the linebackers had our back turned to him because it's a man under coverage. You know, you go turn your back and run to the man, and when your back's turned, you turn around, you sprinting up the sideline. You know what I mean? We just got caught in the coverage. You know what I mean? No big deal. You know, we cut all that stuff out.
Yeah, a win is a win, and we got some experience, and hopefully we can correct those mistakes this week in practice because we're going to have to, because obviously the schedule gets pretty tough from here on out.
And the schedule would get much tougher. Usually the Maryland game is a yardstick for what the season is going to look like through the month of October and November. And unfortunately for West Virginia, the Maryland game was. In the Mountaineers' fourth game, 4 would be the number that would be remembered. That's for 4 interceptions by WVU quarterback Brad Lewis. The Terps got the 32-20 win on its way to an Orange Bowl bid. Up next, a 6th-ranked Virginia Tech Hokies squad came to Morgantown, and even with a new quarterback under center, similar results for WVU. Derek Jones threw 2 picks to a VT squad that didn't need extra help getting on the board. The Hokie defense stuffed Avon Coburn, and the offense put up a bagel, a 35-0 loss to Virginia Tech to fall to 2-3. 2 tough losses to 2 of West Virginia's biggest rivals, but the season wasn't over, and the next week presented a unique challenge. Notre Dame was 1-3, and Bob Davie, the head coach, was on the hot seat. A big game in a big house with big implications, and Rich Rod's squad wasn't giving up on banging out some more wins. In soggy South Bend, the run game was the story, and Avon Coburn had an early starring role. On WVU's second play from scrimmage, he found the sideline and booked it 60 yards to the house. The Irish rushing attack went shot for shot with the Mountaineers and entered halftime with a 17-10 lead. Brad Lewis would return to his Music City Bowl form, finding A.J. Nastasi and then Torrey Johnson to give the Mountaineers a 24-17 fourth quarter lead. It was an old nemesis, though, the interception that gave the Irish its luck. The 34-yard pick return set up the win for Notre Dame, and Mountaineers left South Bend with a 2-4 record. A badly needed bye week gave way to a short week and a Thursday night game at top-ranked Miami. Despite an 87-yard first quarter from Avon Coburn, an injury to Brad Lewis ended any chance of an upset. Backup QB Derek Jones threw 4 picks, and the eventual national champs cruised to a 45-3 win. So at 2-5 going into November, the mission was simple. Win all 4 of your next games and maybe, just maybe, sneak into a bowl game. Luckily for the Mountaineers, that first game was against Rutgers, another program that was charging headfirst into the Big East basement. The Mountaineers took out all of the frustrations of a long season on the Scarlet Knights that day. First, it was pretty standard, a 15-yard run by Avon Coburn. Then after a Rutgers 3-and-out, another rushing TD by Avon, this time over 30 yards. The red and white faced another third down, but instead of a stop, it was a turnover. And that's just about how the entire first half would go. WVU stop, WVU score, all the way to a 59-0 halftime lead. It was such a blowout that Mountaineer fans got a glimpse of the future. Rasheed Marshall and Quincy Wilson got major minutes late and added to that beatdown. The final, a preposterous 80-7 win over Rutgers.
Let everybody know like what we had to do to get things right. And seniors said it perfectly. I mean, we got to do things right, do what they say, you know, and I think we did that this past week. And I mean, it showed on the field. Scored 80 points. That's crazy.
It was a shot in the arm that many in Morgantown needed, no more so than the football team itself. Had the schedule been a little bit different that year, 2001 maybe looked at differently, but unfortunately, WVU's next game was a trip up to the Dome to play nationally ranked Syracuse. It just wasn't to be. Despite a solid defensive effort by WVU, turnovers on offense and questionable calls on special teams paved the way for an Orange win.
Well, you always worry, what could you control as a coach? What can you control? You're playing the guys that help you, give you the best chance to win. I think we did that. At times, we may have misevaluated certain guys, and I think that's typical in your first year. Maybe this guy would have been better here, or maybe this guy couldn't quite do this technique, but he could have done this one better and things of that nature. But you always do a lot of evaluation. I save that till after the season.
It didn't get any better in the fog against lowly Temple. More early turnovers and 2 short missed field goals by the backup kicker put the Mountaineers in an early hole. Rasheed Marshall gave WVU a little bit of juice, finding A.J. Nastasi in the second quarter for a passing TD, but an 11-point third quarter by the Owls put West Virginia behind again, 14-7. Rasheed weaved his way into the end zone early in the fourth to tie it up 14, but that's as good as it would get the rest of the game. Down 17-14 with under 2 minutes to go, the turnover bug bit WVU again, and the Mountaineers hit rock bottom with a 3-point loss to Temple. The next week in the backyard brawl, Brad Lewis left the game in the first quarter with a broken collarbone. Rasheed Marshall couldn't keep up offensively with Pitt's Antonio Bryant, and the Panthers squeaked out of Morgantown with a 23-17 win. And with that, the WVU football season was over with a 3-8 record. It's not a season that's looked back on fondly. In fact, it's rarely looked back on at all. But there's one thing that's undeniable. Rich Rodriguez would never have a season like it in Morgantown again, and there were many, many more things to come.
As far as my first year here in 10 months, other than the play, which is important, that's the bottom line in the games, I still feel as good about, my goals have not changed. As far as eventually winning a national championship at West Virginia University, I still believe we can do that.